I left work early the Friday before Katrina because my sister was getting married the next day and I had to go to Mandeville. So I packed up just what I needed to go spend the weekend and get all that done, the wedding and stuff. And it was that Friday night that I got a call that, Katrina was coming towards us. And so by the time Saturday we did the wedding, there was no going home. That was it. What we had is what we had.
Well, I think by nature I'm kind of impatient, so I'm thinking about, okay, now we've left, we've reached a destination, when can we leave and go home? And when we do go home, what are we going to find? Well, television let us know very quickly what we were going to find.
And I lived in St. Bernard Parish in Chalmette, which we took on 30 feet of water. The water went over the roof of my home. So there was nothing to save. And all we had was what we left with when we packed up to go spend the weekend at my sister's.
We started KW Cares in 2003. Well, Katrina hit and we had $200,000 in the bank. I knew we needed a whole lot more money. And I did the calculations and I felt like we needed $5 million like by tomorrow morning.
I was in a place where nobody was receiving calls. My phone rang. It was Mo. She said in that sweet little Oklahoma accent of hers, "Darling, don't worry about a thing. We're going to make sure that you don't fail."
And I knew they would have a lot of fear about what was going to happen in the future. Could they carry on? And I knew they were so concerned about their people, and of course they all knew we were trying to help find everybody.
And we had agents that just didn't have cars. We had agents that people still primarily use desktop computers. So they didn't have any way to communicate. And I think that not being able to communicate with the outside world is perhaps one of the most helpless things. And if you had a 504 area code, your phone almost never could ring, even when you were in another city.
Through texting, which was brand new, some of the agents looked at their phones and thought, what's going on? Because they didn't know what texting was. And we found every single agent. I got a call one day from Bob Kalinsky, and that precious guy had grown up in New Orleans. So he had a special compassion and pain in his heart for what the suffering that was going on. And he said, "Mo, why don't we do a heart-to-heart program?" And I said, "Okay, Bob, tell me what that means." And he said it simply means that any market center who would like to could adopt a family in New Orleans, because there will always be ongoing needs.
The support that the Keller Williams family gave across the country was nothing short of incredible. And you would have Mo and Mary Tennant at Mega Camp going and raising money into mastermind rooms. But you also had offices and teams and agents all across the country adopting agents.
The acts of kindness were, they never ended. They just kept happening.
Keller Williams being there, the heart-to-heart. I had to get my son in school. He had no clothes. He had no school bag, no nothing.
But we had an agent in California. That market center bought a car. He drove the car to New Orleans and gave it.
When we evacuated, we were able to stay at our regional director's home and, sleep in a real bed, eat at a real table.
Heart to Heart really helped out. They sent gift cards, but they were just there to also listen and just to help you through it emotionally and not just financially, but emotionally, to have that in someone there to help you like that was just amazing.
When we did find a place to live on a temporary basis, one of the KW Houston agents actually flew to our family automobile and drive it to where we were. You know, that's the kind of thing that I don't forget.
My father and I returned to New Orleans on September 9th, and we were able to get a pass from the governor's office that allowed us to drive through the entire city. And what we saw was awful. It was heartbreaking. It was hopeless.
You know, the storm definitely made a few people think, you know, should I do this again? Should I go back there? But the blow of the storm, at least for the Keller Williams family of agents that we have and had, that blow was softened immeasurably.
I knew there was a lot of work to do, and I knew that I had to stay home that semester and help be a part of rebuilding New Orleans.
It's a mess. It's not flooded. The walls are standing. However, there was a roof problem, and that roof problem was making everything wet on the inside.
I flew in, landed, and I suddenly thought, am I in a movie set? There wasn't an animal to be seen. There were no people. It was totally desolate. Cars in ditches, buildings, you know, where the windows were broken. And
one of the things, you know, I learned in getting back and having to get back to business was that we needed people. We needed staff, and staff was staff was either gone or had received a lot of negative impact from the storm. Holly, who was our receptionist, probably had the worst situation at her home, which was a loss, unfortunately. And Holly was kind enough to jump into the breach to become our MCA, which, you know, at that time, it was all about the people. It was about finding our people. It was about getting our business back up and running again. And Holly had some experience with that, and she was a champ, and to this day still is.
I finally came back and was able to go to Mandeville and start working on all of the transactions and helping the agents with their businesses, which was stressful. And at the time, I didn't even have a home to live in. We had an event, and Mo came in to visit us all, and in that little voice, once again, darling, you're already doing the job, you might as well take the job. So the next day, I went into the office and I said, okay, I'll do it. And here I am, 20 years later, still doing it.
I believe Katrina defined KW Cares. It became very clear to me how untrained we were, and that we better get on the ball, because hurricane season, fire season, tornado season probably could cause us to have maybe 4 or 5 disasters at one time.
What I learned during Katrina not only taught us how to return from Hurricane Ida, but the Keller Williams response from Keller Williams in Austin and the entire Keller Williams family across the country was nothing short of staggering. KW Cares put over $2.3 million into the New Orleans area, helping Keller Williams agents and their families recover from that storm and quickly get back on their feet.
The higher purpose of business is to give, care, and share.
And while we've been recipients of way more than we've given, we are honored to pay it forward and to make sure that anyone in the Keller Williams family is supported when they need it.
Doing heart to heart and having KW Cares is the result of having culture. That wouldn't happen if you didn't have compassionate hearts.
And I'm incredibly grateful to all the people who give every transaction, give every year to make sure that this safety net is there for the 150,000 plus agents of Keller Williams.
The Keller Williams experience for me has been life-changing on many levels. The Katrina response, the heart-to-heart program, the profit sharing, how the company's run. People like Mo Anderson, who taught us all a lot.
When I reflect back, Keller Williams made all the difference in my life, in my kids' life.
Gave me a shift in the way I'd been thinking. Because first, it's, your family.
Everyone out there that gave during Katrina, that supported our agents and gave their time, gave their efforts, thank you so much. All right. I know that was lengthy. We're going to chop it up into small clips for social media if you want to share it, whatever. But there was a lot to tell. A lot happened. I think we kind of all recall that. And unpacking these things brought back a lot as we started to get there. It was not easy to edit. I don't think many companies can do what we do. You have to be built from the very base, from the root, to do this sort of thing. And Mo Anderson was the first CEO after Gary Keller to run Keller Williams, for those of you who aren't familiar. And she is very responsible for putting a lot of that in there. So today, KW Cares has a CEO by the name of Alexia Rodriguez, and she is here with us today. So welcome, Lexi.
Thank you.
All the lights on. There we go. Look at that.
Okay, where do you want me?
Just go right. That's
Okay.
easiest right there.
Hi, everybody.
Sorry
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks. Sorry, take an emotional time or moment and then throw you up here. But tell us about the scale of KW Cares now. I mean, Mo was talking about it. Really, they were 2003 and 4 and up to Katrina. They were giving grants for families who maybe lost a loved one or
That's right.
Minor, not minor things, but smaller grants.
Correct.
Individual grants.
Correct.
Talk about the scale of KW Cares today.
Sure. So, if you don't mind, I want to take a pause and I'm going to answer that
go
question.
ahead.
But you mentioned something up here about other companies and what they do for their employees or their independent contractors like our agents. And I just wanted to share a story with everybody. 2 years ago, I went to a conference for employee hardship funds. So in the nonprofit industry, KW Cares is considered an employee hardship fund. There's only one this kind of conference in the whole country, and it only happens once every 2 years. And KW Cares had never been before. I said, I want to go. I want to go learn and see what other companies are doing. And it was really remarkable to be in that room. So most of the major corporations that you could think of were represented. Walmart, Target, American Airlines, Chick-fil-A, you name it, right? And we started the conference, and the person that was leading the conference said, okay, I want to ask everybody here, who gives a grant for $1,000 to their associates? Lots of folks raise their hands. Who gives $3,000? Who gives $5,000? They get to $10,000. One company raised their hand, Home Depot, and then they just thought it was over. And like, okay, now we're going to go on and we're going to start the program. I was like, excuse me. I'm Lexi. I'm from KW Cares. We give up to $30,000. Mic drop. No one is doing what we're doing through Keller Williams and KW Cares and taking care of our own the way that we do. So I just wanted to share that story because, to your point, we are really, really special. We are a very unique company, and we have a beautiful culture, and you see that being played out at KW Cares every day. So.
We do, and I think we don't want to get up here and beat a drum every day, and I think that's why I was using this opportunity to kind of bring back and talk about it. 'Cause
exactly.
I think we just go on about our business, and we hope we never need it.
I know, and that's the thing, right? So in answer to your question, the scope of KW Cares, we started 22 years ago, And we were giving minor grants the first couple of years. So Hurricane Katrina is really what put our disaster relief program on the map, right? That was the very first big response we had at KW Cares. And I think at that point, we realized, I wasn't part of KW Cares then, I've been with KW Cares for 4 years, but I've learned all about what we did. And that was the first time we really realized, and most talked about in the video, wow, we need to step up. There are going to be major natural disaster events that are going to continue to happen, and we really need to get ready. So last year, to put things in perspective, we responded to 5 hurricanes, not just one. And this year, we kicked off responding to the LA wildfires. And hopefully we don't have any hurricanes, but we'll see. But we are prepared, Jeffrey, to respond. And we have a true disaster relief program that we've built out over the last few years. In the past, it was run by volunteers. Our Adam Hughes is our disaster relief manager. He attends the National Hurricane Conference, which is typically held here every year. So we are learning and tweaking our program and improving on that each year.
Tell us about the 3 trucks.
Oh my goodness. Yes. So we have 3 KW Cares trailers, right?
Like 18-wheeler trailers.
Yes. And they're branded the KW Cares. You saw it in the video. They were each donated by a board member. Mo, Bev Steiner, and at the time Ben Kinney was on our board. So they bought those trailers for us. And I think that really upped our game, right? So we realized we got to be prepared. It's not just about giving money, but it's also about giving supplies, right? Because I think for those of you that have lived through these hurricanes, you know, all right, I need a generator, but I don't know where to get one, or they're all sold out at Home Depot. I can't get access to one, even if I can afford to pay for one. So once those trailers were donated, we established a warehouse in Austin that we keep stocked and ready to go. And so those trailers we send out in responses to, in particular to hurricanes, but we were able to send a trailer to California this year for the wildfires, and we had a different set of supplies because they needed air purifiers and masks and that kind of thing. But we have a warehouse in Austin, and a hurricane's coming. We work with the region when we know a hurricane's going to hit. We get those trucks fired up, and they hit the road. And I have to say, I have actually, this is a kind of a funny story, but when I started 4 years ago, I was like, I don't know, man, those trucks, they cost a lot of money. I'm like, you know, we have a lot of supplies in the warehouse, and the warehouse costs a lot of money. I'm like, I think we should probably just think about getting rid of those trailers. And my staff were like, I don't know, Alexia, that doesn't seem like a good idea. I'm like, well, let's see how it goes. So
and then that year
we sent them, right? And then the following year, I actually got to be present when the trailers rolled in, and I broke down crying. And there were so many agents in the parking lot. It's just, those trailers are a symbol of what KW Cares is all about, I realized, right? I mean, everything that we're donating, whether it's an emergency grant or a generator, is being donated out of the generosity of our associates' hearts. And those trailers are a physical representation of the heart of KW. And at that moment, I'm like, we are never, ever getting rid of these trailers. I don't care how expensive they are. But anyway, so we have a warehouse there, and we also now have a warehouse in Florida, because we've realized over the years since I've started, a lot of hurricanes are also hitting that part of the country. And we want to be able to mobilize very quickly and respond really quickly. So.
And y'all do mobilize quickly.
Yes, our goal. Our goal is 24 hours of a hurricane hitting.
So you all engage us on call as
Yes.
market center leaders, engage us on calls, 48 hours, 24 hours, and then we get these hourly call rhythms. And we've learned I've been evacuated, and she's like, okay, another call. It's like 4 o'clock, another call, I'll go. And when a storm does hit, and you all know, I mean, you have them, the trucks are loaded ahead of time.
That's correct.
You're not waiting.
No, that's correct.
Where's usually interstate's closed?
Yes.
Where is the truck usually at the closure?
That's a really good question. So once we understand where the hurricane is going to hit, we try and get the trailers as close to that area as possible. So that way we can avoid some of the interstate closures. Sometimes it doesn't work that way. Even in our best efforts, we still have to deal with interstates or even smaller like highways being closed. So we do the best that we can, but we try and stage it so that the trailer is as close to the affected area as possible.
My experience is that truck is one of the first vehicles on that open highway.
That is true. We like to pride ourselves, and we like to say we're there before FEMA and other local governments and other, nonprofits that come in to assist. We usually get there first, which we're really proud of.
It's incredible. I've been there when the trucks arrived at a distribution center and all the volunteers. And it's one of those emotional, it's a very energetic thing that people are ready to work and ready to get going.
Sure.
But, and there's usually a line of cars of agents waiting for a generator.
Definitely.
So Hurricane Ida, it was a generator, extension cords, box fans, fuel.
Yes.
Water. And we had another whole tarp situation.
A tarp situation, yes.
So, and look, Ken, how long were you an agent with us back then?
6 months, maybe.
6 months. And Ken had a water leak in his house.
Oh, wow.
A big one.
Yikes.
And your mother-in-law's house as well?
Yeah.
Both roofs got tarped.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. That's great.
So, somebody right here that felt that.
That was affected.
That was just under a $3 million response, if I recall.
That's correct. That's absolutely correct.
And Katrina was $5.3 million in 2005 dollars. That's a whole lot more.
That's right.
I'm a little nervous. I don't know that I don't want another hurricane, and I'm really worried about the headlines with FEMA. What are you all doing differently this year in anticipation of that?
Well, we're trying to spread the word, right, that in particular about transactional giving, right? So we're trying to create a sustainable future for KW Cares and all of our associates. We want to be able to respond to every single natural disaster or every single case of cancer, right? Or all the other things that we provide assistance for. And the easiest way that we can create a sustainable future is talking about transactional giving, Jeffrey. So last year, we closed 2024 with 23% of all transactions across KW giving to KW Cares. We are really trying to move that needle to 50%, 75%, 100%. I mean, think about all the help and relief that we can give in the future if every single transaction gives to KW Cares. And even if it's just $5, Jeffrey, or $10, right?
That fills up those trucks.
It really does. It really does.
But one thing that I'm incredibly proud of is the reports we get from the region. So we don't have to work on that percentage. We're at 100%. Well, we have to work on transactional giving. We've got to make sure we're keeping our, $5, $10, $20 a transaction.
Agreed. I mean, you said in the video, like, when we give a grant or we give a generator, it's money that comes from all over KW, right? It's people that are giving $5 in New York or $5 in Oregon that are able to create this kind of response that KW Cares is a part of, right? It is a true partnership and a really beautiful model. But yes, so we are really trying to push that transactional giving so we can be there, because you see these headlines and you say FEMA's not going to be around, so it's going to make KW Cares even more relevant than it already is. We may be the only hope that people might have moving into the future, unfortunately. I hope that's not the case, but we want to be there and we want to be prepared for that.
And we've learned that we have to be, because one of the first needs is housing when we get into a storm. All right,
that's right.
Storm recovery. Okay, any questions for Lexi? I know this is...
Any questions at all. You can ask me about my family, my whatever. I'm an open book. I love to talk to people. I love Louisiana people, by the way.
Okay.
It's been so much fun to come here today, and I've come when Dawn was the RD before Renee. We got to do a couple of trainings, and I just want to say I love you guys. You guys are awesome. Everybody in KW is amazing. You know what is really interesting about my job and my staff is that natural disasters, it's hard and stressful to be a part of that response, but it is also the most beautiful thing, because it's when you see people at its best, right? It's when everybody comes together, in particular with KW. We rally around each other and we all want to help, and it's just really an honor to serve in this position. But any questions, please?
I just wanted to mostly say thank you, and I also wanted to just add thank you to my father-in-law, Jeff, who's sitting here, who participated, and to Holly for sharing your story. I know it's hard to revisit, but it does make it so personal, and there's so many stories that Jeffrey and I have seen from a very personal side that you don't, put in a video,
right.
But just thank you for giving us the ability to connect our agents to these resources. And also in big ways, like when the floods in Texas happened,
Right.
What our immediate conversation was, what's KW Cares doing?
right.
Because that gives us a real tangible way that we can help and are helping.
That's
and,
right.
You know, you've gutted houses after Harvey. You've been, I mean, I don't know how many times Jeffrey
I
has
went twice
physically.
to Texas for that.
Yeah. So I just want to say thank you for the work that you're doing on behalf of all of us when, you know, our hearts are sad looking at the news, and it just gives us something to feel a little bit, you know, of a consolation. And also, could you all talk about what the response was to the floods? Because I think that was amazing.
So, interestingly, with the floods in Central Texas, which since I've been in this position, I've been part of KW Cares for 4 years, and I came from the non-real estate world. I came from the nonprofit world, so I'm learning all about real estate. It's really amazing. But since I've been here, we participated in many, many natural disaster responses. The Central Texas floods were unusual and particularly devastating because of the loss of life. And we just, I had never experienced that myself. We got very lucky, though, in that none of our agents were affected, their properties or their families. We did not lose anybody that we know of, and we did a pretty extensive research, check on everybody.
It was there was a lot of work, and it felt like it went a long time.
It did. It really did. But we at KW Cares were able to provide a grant to two external nonprofits that have been very helpful in our natural disaster relief. So we exist to help KW associates in their time of need, but our bylaws also let us from time to time give to a nonprofit that's in this kind of space, disaster relief space. So what we did, because we didn't have any associates affected, we decided to give to Mercy Chefs. They're an extraordinary nonprofit out of the East Coast, but they respond to every single natural disaster that you can think of: wildfires, floods, hurricanes, and they have partnered with us on a number of occasions. What they do is provide a hot, fresh meal to volunteers and to people that are in the affected area. So they have served our KW volunteers here in Louisiana multiple times, particularly in Hurricane Ida. That was the first time I got to meet them and get to work with them. The other organization that we partnered with and were able to give a grant was called TexArt, Texas Search and Rescue. And they were at the forefront of trying to find the victims of the floods. And then at some point, they obviously were recovering the folks that passed away. They deployed last year to Florida after Hurricane Milton, or actually in anticipation of Hurricane Milton, because they wanted to be there for us in case any of our associates were affected. They were going through a time period where they were able to do that, and they had a team that mobilized to Florida. Luckily, we didn't need their assistance, but they were there to help us. So we, in turn, wanted to help them, and in particular because they were at the forefront of helping with the Central Texas floods. So.
That's incredible.
Yep. It's pretty incredible, yeah.
Well, Lexi, we're so grateful for... Yeah, sorry. Go ahead, Renee.
Well, I just wanted you to speak on two things. One, when these events happen, the reality is that you're helping hundreds, sometimes thousands of people. I want you to speak on your staff, and you can even name them because it's easy.
Yes.
Which goes to the next part of the question is, and also talk about the size of the staff, this mighty small group that does massive things. And I'd also like you to expand on the conference that you went to, because I know a lot of these major companies proudly lifted their hands, and I will say, as a side note, most of those companies make more in one day than our company makes in a year.
Yes.
And they proudly put their hand up, but a lot of those are a one and done. So I want you to speak also on our philosophy on care and continued care.
Correct.
As our relationships continue after tragedies.
Great points. Thanks, Renee. So yes, we have a small but mighty team. That's what we like to call ourselves. Myself, and then we have our development team, which does all the fundraising, and that's Rachel Elder and Shannon Cunningham. And then we have our grants team, which is Rachel Tang. Some of you are probably very familiar with Rachel. She's been in that job for well over 10 years. And we have Robin Post. And then we have Adam Hughes, who's our disaster relief manager. He's been to Louisiana also as well to do some training. And we have Tony Young, and that's it, right? So what I think is incredibly wonderful about the KW Cares model is that we work in partnership with regional leadership, with market center leadership, and then an army of volunteers just like you guys, right? So when a natural disaster happens, the 7 of us, we couldn't pull it off, right? Yeah. We depend on folks just like you to help us receive the trailers, unload the trailers, distribute the trailers, and all that kind of work, right? Because, like, again, the 7 of us would just not be able to make that happen. So that's our model, and I just think it really is a reflection of the generosity and the spirit of Keller Williams. KW Cares exists to serve KW associates, but we also would not exist if we didn't have the help and support from all of you, right? So that's one portion of it. And then in response to Renee's other question and the conference, he's absolutely right. And Renee and I have talked about this before because it does, again, go to the spirit of who we are and what our culture is about at Keller Williams and at KW Cares. All these other companies that I mentioned, not only do they give less in the amount of grants, but they are a one-and-done program. At KW Cares, if you received a grant because your home needed repairs after a hurricane, and then 6 months later, unfortunately, you got cancer and you needed help paying those medical bills, we can help you again, right? And so we are not a one and done. We are here to help. And unfortunately, sometimes we do have associates that are in that position where they need help multiple times for different things. And we're here, we don't just say, okay, Jeffrey, here's your 1 grant and it's over, right? We do have some limitations around that in terms of how much we can give in 1 year, but it's not a lifetime max where you can just get 1 grant and it's over like those other organizations. Again, just another special aspect of KW Cares that's made possible by that ongoing generosity, right, of our associates. And I just want to plug, again, the transactional giving. We are able to do that mostly because of transactional giving. About 70% of our annual budget is from transactional giving. The other 30% are fundraisers that KW Cares puts on. One is in May, which is for Mo's birthday. It's KW Cares Month. And then we have another fundraiser coming up called Multiply Your Business, which I think is really exciting. This is our 5th year, and we have a goal of raising $350,000. It's a virtual fundraiser where we have a number of different celebrities like James Shaw, Sarah Reynolds. They teach about 15-minute segments, and it starts at 11. It's October 14th, starts at 11 Central, and it goes about 2.5 hours. And I think for agents like you in this room and for some of your colleagues that aren't here today, it's just a really special event because you learn a lot in a short period of time, and it only costs $25. So I think it's pretty fun. So keep that on your calendars and keep that in mind. But transactional giving is our big push. Like I said, we want to make sure we're building a sustainable future for KW Cares so that we can always give grants to all of our associates, whatever the reason, a natural disaster, a medical diagnosis, a car accident, whatever that might be. We just got a grant the other day that I just have to tell you, this falls in the non-disaster relief category, but it just was so heartbreaking. A 17-year-old boy he's the son of an agent in Arizona. They live in the Lake Havasu area. He was last weekend out on the lake with friends celebrating the start of the school year, and they had one of these water trampolines out on the lake that some of you might be familiar with. He was jumping on that trampoline and bounced off and hit his head against a rock, and he's a quadriplegic now for the rest of his life. And I mean, that kind of thing is just unbelievable. It's like when you say you hope you never need it, but we're here in case you do.
And
right?
that was an agent's son in Arizona.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, yeah, so heartbreaking.
So instead of putting them in crippling debt,
we're here to help. Yeah,
pretty
that's
amazing.
Right. For sure.
Lexi, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. Thank you so much.
You coming to talk to us.
I appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
It's the scope of it. I think that it's it for me. I mean, I'm again a numbers person, but $5 million back then is $8 million today. I don't even think the movie hit on it, but the grants to agents in the metro immediately given after Katrina didn't
even count in the 5.3.
Yeah, And that was $5,000, and that dollars.
Oh, that did count, but the hearts of heart didn't count.
Yeah, $8,000 delivered to agents across the Metroplex. Again, like immediately. And then we've done these other reliefs, and I was trying to remember the name of the hurricane where we packed up 30 generators and sent them to Florida.
Milton.
Milton.
I couldn't even remember the name of the hurricane. It's like how much we've done this. Yeah, and it was one of our agents in our office. We went to, that was us loading
Yes.
the
So what
U-Haul that
happens
was
is
hard to find.
KW Care says, hey, or Renee says, hey, we've got a problem. We need more generators than expected. We found that the Home Depot and blah, blah, or we need somebody. Will y'all please call Home Depots and see how many generators you can get? And I think y'all went to 2 or 3 Home Depots that day.
Oh, see, I forgot about that. Yep, we
You
went to a lot of Home
you,
Depots.
it blew you oversaw that. And then you didn't get done packing that truck. We saw the end of it in the video till about 5 o'clock. Blair then drives with her friend through the night.
I think it was supposed to be to Tallahassee. Really, she didn't know where she was headed.
Right. There was no destination. It was
Ida, yes.
Well,
Wasn't
Ida was
Ida,
here.
different one.
Different
Ida,
okay,
we
Milton.
distributed over $2 million worth of generators and aid here in
almost
the
3,
Metroplex.
yeah.
Sorry, yes.
Yeah.
I meant Ian. It was
Okay, there we
Ian.
go.
It was the
There we
other
go.
Ida.
See, this is the thing. There's too many storms to remember. But that's something that
Yeah.
we
Yes, it was
personally
Ian.
did, and y'all
Yes. No,
wired the money
absolutely.
right back for all the generators.
100%. And you
we
guys
were able to
really
get people what
jumped
they
in
needed.
and were able to help. Absolutely. Jeffrey, can I just say one
Yeah,
more thing? I
sure.
looked up your history of this market center, and I'm so proud of y'all. Since 2007, that's as far back as our CRM goes, our donor CRM, you've given $200,000 to KW Cares, and that is a huge accomplishment. So please. That's incredible.
It's one of those things like, yeah, thank you so much, but you've also given us
Yes.
$10 million or something along those lines. We are the recipients of an organization that, frankly, I don't know if we feel like we deserve. And so thank you so much for
definitely do, for sure.
making the trip today and
Thanks for having
being
me.
with us.
Yeah.